When you take an assumption and you combine it with action, you are going to get a result. This is a very simple formula for success. Assumption plus action equals result. Now, here's the kicker. The same formula for success is also the same formula for failure, and I put that in inverted commas because failure is just a pathway to success. We need failure because it is the opposite side of the coin of success. So for us to know we are successful, the contrasting state of failure has to always be available. We don't always have to enter into that state in order to experience success, but sometimes we do because that's the human experience. So today I want to take you through this formula so that you are using it in the correct way in order to see more of what it is that you desire to see in your reality rather than the opposite of what you're desiring to see, because this is the formula that's going to get either one of those. My name is Hedley, and my whole purpose for being here is to remind you of your infinite I am nature, which is the cause of your reality and is the commander of what it is that you want to see more of in your reality. So if you would like any assistance with rewriting, rescripting, reimagining any part of your reality, I am available for one-to-one law of assumption coaching. I also have a self-concept course and an I am masterclass where you can really develop your understanding of this I am technique, which I share on my channel, which has completely transformed my life and many of those watching this channel. And there is my book, I Am Money, Assume a New Story and Enjoy More Money. You'll find all of those details in the box below this video or at my website, youaretheone.com.au. And if I could ask you for a very simple favor, if you are enjoying this video and you're enjoying my channel, please do press that subscribe button. That would be most appreciated. Thank you so much. With so much going on in reality, I wanted to just pull back and simplify things and come back to basics a little bit because there is a lot going on. Reality can seem quite overwhelming, especially for those of you who are in the US who might be experiencing some of that overwhelm. I wanted to just pull back and give you a very simple formula for success, by success meaning more of what you want to see in your reality as opposed to seeing less of what you want to see or the opposite of what you want to see in reality. So success and failure are two sides of the same coin, and this formula is the same formula for success or failure, depending on how you use it. The formula is very simple. Assumption plus action equals result. So everything comes in threes. There is always a triality, and it is through the triality that we return to oneness. And if you'd like to know more about that, you can check out the video that I did on the oneness mindset. I'll just link that up here. And I will be speaking more about this because we are coming out of duality and we are ascending into another level of consciousness, and we do that through the triality. So the triality is the positive, negative, neutral. And when it comes to this formula, we're working with that. So it's assumption, action, and result. So those are the three concepts that we're working with. Now, as all of us have experienced, there are some times where action is not really needed, where you can just hold a state of consciousness, you can hold a thought, you can hold a vision, and then boom, there it is, reality reflects it back. And I'm sure we're all experiencing the timelessness that is happening now, where the delay or the time period between the thought or the state of consciousness we're holding and the manifested reflection of that is getting a lot shorter. For example, I was in yoga class the other day and I just had the thought of that movie Call Me By Your Name with Timothée Chalamet, and I was just thinking of that movie, playing it out. When I got home, I was starting to prepare dinner. I put the TV on and that movie was on the television, and I was like, whoa, that's fast. Like, that was just within the hour of me playing out that movie in my head. There it is on the television, and I haven't seen that movie in a couple of years. So it's things like that where you're having a thought and then boom, there it is, which is why we need to be more intentional with where and how we are directing our consciousness, which is why this formula is going to help you stay in that intentional state when thinking about what it is that you're thinking about, and of course taking the action that you're taking. So there are going to be times when we take action in reality based on the results that we want to see more of in your reality. However, that action has to be founded on the right assumption, the correct assumption. Otherwise, you are going to get more of what it is that you don't want to experience. When it comes to assumptions, you have a true assumption and you have a false assumption. A true assumption is an assumption that is based on reality. It's based on evidence in reality. A false assumption is based on having no evidence of it in reality. People would look at that and go, well, you're just lying. That's just a lie. You're deceiving yourself. You're kidding yourself. When you take action on a true assumption, you are going to get a result that reflects that assumption back. Keep in mind, you already have the evidence of it in reality. So by taking that action based on the assumption of the evidence, you're going to get more evidence. Let me give you an example. Let's say you are feeling unfit and you want to get fit. So you're thinking, oh no, I'm so unfit. I want to get fit. I'm going to go to the gym. So you go to the gym, that's the action that you take, and you work out at the gym and you do it for a little while. Maybe you get a little bit fit, but the momentum dies off, you fall off, and then you end up paying for a gym membership that you never use. Who's ever been there? So the action you're taking is based on the assumption of I am unfit. That's a true assumption because you have the evidence of your unfitness in reality. You are taking action on a true assumption, which means you are going to get a result that eventually reflects back that true assumption. You end up back in a state of unfitness, and then you look at the action and blame the action. Well, maybe I'm just not a gym person. Maybe I'm better at Pilates. So you go through that cycle again. I'm unfit. I need to get fit. Let me try Pilates. So I sign up for a 10-class pass or whatever the exercise is based on the assumption that I'm unfit and I need to get fit. I'm looking out there at the result that I want and I'm taking the action on that assumption that is already true in reality. And then, of course, same thing happens. Maybe you go for a little while, you get a little fit and then it drops off and you are back at the beginning. You are back in the state of unfitness, which you never left. And that is how most of us are taking action in reality. I'll give you another example. Let's say you're single and you would like to meet somebody. So you go, oh, I'm single, I'd love to meet somebody. And you get on the apps. Now you're getting on the apps on the assumption, a true assumption that you're single. You have the evidence in reality that says, yes, I am single. All assumptions begin with I am. The thoughts that's causing us to take the action doesn't always have to begin with I am, but the assumption underneath the thought is always in I am. So if you are single and you get on the dating apps from the assumption that I am single, you are getting on the dating apps on a true assumption. You are going to get a result that reflects back the truth of that assumption. You may date a while, maybe you get involved with somebody for a little while, but eventually you will come back to that assumption of I am single. And now you're just a little bit more jaded than you were before. You could even get married, but eventually you will come back to that assumption of being single because that's the assumption that you took the action on. And the assumption which drives the action has to end up in the result. Let me give you another example. Let's say you would like to have more money. So you're like, oh, I'd like to have more money. And then you go out into reality and you take action to get more money. Maybe you get another job. Maybe you create a side hustle. Maybe you set up an investment portfolio and you take action based on the thought of I would like more money. Underneath that, though, is an assumption that I am lacking money. I am without enough money. So that's the assumption that's driving the action, which means the result must return to the assumption that set up the action. The action always comes from an assumption, and often those assumptions are unconscious, and an unconscious assumption is generally one that is true, meaning you have the evidence of it already in reality. And that is only going to set up the result that proves the assumption that you started off with. Now, here's a very popular one. We've all done this, where let's say you're sick. You are sick with something, so you go to the doctor. That's the action you're taking because I'm sick, I'm going to go to the doctor, and the doctor gives you some kind of medication or treatment plan. So you're taking action on the assumption that I'm sick, which means that often, even though you might get better, you end up in a cycle of getting sick and having to go to the doctor, and then you're sick, and then you get better, and then you get sick again. And you're not actually getting out of that cycle of sickness because the action you're taking is founded on the assumption that I am sick. All we have to do is change a true assumption to a false assumption. A false assumption isn't wrong. It's just an assumption which you have no evidence of in reality yet. Now I'll go back through those examples. Let's say you're unfit and you would like to get fit. So you could start by saying, I am infinite fitness and I am in the process of remembering my fitness. That's a very different thought to act on. When you take action on that thought, which I am infinite fitness and I'm just in the process of remembering that, you are still taking the same action of going to the gym, but your experience at the gym is going to be different because you're going to get results that match up with the assumption you consciously started with. And you're going to find yourself getting more fit, which is going to build momentum at the gym. And then you're going to enjoy the gym more because you're seeing yourself and feeling yourself get fitter. And of course, that's matching up with the assumption that I'm infinite fitness and I'm just in the process of remembering that. And then you're like, wow, this is cool. So you keep going to the gym and you keep getting fitter, and then that keeps getting more evidence. And now you've taken a false assumption and you now have a true assumption, but that true assumption is an assumption you want to see more of in reality. Let's take the money one. You don't have the kind of money you would like in reality. So you say, oh, I would like more money, but I know that I need to hold a false assumption before taking action. So I'm going to hold the assumption that I'm infinite wealth and I'm in the process of remembering that. And then you take action, you set up a business or a side hustle or an investment portfolio, and you just keep affirming that false assumption that I'm infinite wealth and I'm in the process of remembering that. And you take that action, that the same action founded on that false assumption, you are going to get a result in reality that reflects back that false assumption. And if it's a result in reality, that is now true. You now have a true assumption, but that true assumption is the assumption you want to see more of. And then of course, you're seeing yourself becoming more wealthy, and then you're getting more confidence. So you're taking bigger risks, and then you're getting more wealthy. And it's all founded on a false assumption, which is now true because you now have the correct results in reality. Let me take the one where you're single. So, okay, I'm single, I'd like to meet somebody, but I know that I need to start with the right assumption. So I'm going to hold a false assumption. I'm in a beautiful, loving relationship, and I'm in the process of remembering myself as infinite divine love and connection. And then you take the same action, you get yourself on the apps. But wow, what a different experience it is because you're taking that action on a completely different assumption. And so then the results in reality start to reflect that assumption back. So now that false assumption is now true because you now have the evidence of it in reality. What about if you're sick? Okay, let's say you're sick. You have a cold or you have something more serious, and you can honestly say, okay, I am sick. But I know before I take any action in reality, I have to first remember who I truly am and hold a false assumption first before taking any action in order to return to that health. So I am infinite health, and I just momentarily forgot that, and now I'm in the process of remembering myself as infinite health. And then I take myself to the doctor. So you're still taking the same action, but that action of going to the doctor is now founded on a completely new assumption, a completely different state of consciousness, which means that that action in reality must produce a completely different result because it's founded on a different state of consciousness. It's founded on health. Okay, I'm sick in reality, but I know that I am infinite health, and I am in the process of remembering that, having momentarily forgotten it because I am sick. So I'm off to the doctor knowing that I am infinite health, and this doctor is going to help remind me of that through whatever treatment plan this doctor gives me. And then I take that action in reality, continuing to hold that false assumption that I am infinite health. And you will find that your results in reality from the same action that you're taking will match up to that false assumption and turn that false assumption into a true assumption because you now have the evidence that you're healthy in reality. So now you can actually come back to that, oh, I am actually healthy. So now I'm going to do things that continue to reflect back my health. This formula works on everything in every area of your life. And I want to invite you, to really invite you to be conscious of the thought that you're having prior to taking the action that you're taking. And then based on that thought, ask yourself, what's the assumption behind this thought? Now, that assumption always begins with I am. The thought doesn't. You might have a thought that says, oh, I want to be more successful at this. Now, the assumption behind that is that I am unsuccessful at this, or I am lacking success in this area right now. And that's the assumption that you have to change. You want to start with a false assumption. I am infinite infinite success and I'm in the process of remembering just how successful I am. And then you take action based on that new assumption, that false assumption, and the results that you see in reality will match up with that false assumption, and all of a sudden you've got a true assumption. If you're lacking money, you want to start on the assumption, I'm infinite wealth. And I momentarily forgot this because I'm currently in lack, but now I'm in the process of remembering my wealth. So I'm going to take this action in reality based on this assumption that I am infinite wealth and I'm in the process of remembering it, and then your results will reflect that back. And you can start to build your confidence and start to see your reality reflect back more of what it is that you want rather than more of what it is that you don't want and having to revise and do a lot of work on and work through again. What most of us do is we take action without thinking, but all action is based on the state of our thinking. It's based on the quality of our thinking. So you want to make sure that the thinking that you're having prior to the action that you're taking is founded on false assumptions, beginning in I am. And false assumptions are generally assumptions that are not yet true in reality. And I suggest keeping this private or only sharing it with people who understand this work. Because if you start sharing your false assumptions with people, people will go, but you're just lying to yourself. You're just telling yourself porkies. And you're like, well, obviously, yeah, that's the whole point. I have to deceive myself first. I have to deceive reality. If you are needing evidence of reality first, you're never going to get past the evidence of your current reality. You have to be willing to turn away from the evidence of reality and go into your consciousness and focus on the result that you want to experience. Keeping in mind, all creation is finished. The version of you who is already living the desired reality that you're wanting to experience already exists, and all you're doing is shifting your awareness into it. If you are taking action founded on evidence of the current reality that you're experiencing, you are just going to get more of what you are already experiencing. So take this formula and apply it to anything in any area in your life. And before you take any action in reality, just check in with yourself. Am I taking this action founded on the correct assumption? And the correct assumption is generally a false assumption. Everything's back to front and upside down with this work, which is why it's so cool. It's because we often take action based on a true assumption. Oh, I'm unfit. I need to get fit. And then I take action based on that. You're just going to get more unfitness. You have to be willing to tell yourself a couple of porkies to start. You're not telling anyone else this. This is just between you and you. This is between the Father and the Son. I am and your name. This is the divine relationship. And this is the relationship between yourself and your consciousness. This is all that matters. And you want to be holding false assumptions first, because that is what is going to create the new, true results in reality. Again, we do have to be more intentional with our consciousness at this time, because the current reality of third dimensional living is dropping away, it is collapsing, and things are speeding up, which means we are entering into the state of timelessness. You can have a thought and then boom, there it is. So that luxury of the time delay we had in that third dimensional linear time, what we are starting to see is that is no longer, we no longer have that luxury of time delay, because we're no longer in linear time. We're moving into timelessness. So you want to be more intentional. And of course, there's nothing to be afraid of. If you do mess it up, it's okay. You have as many times to get it right as you want. Because remember, nothing is fixed. So your past isn't fixed, your future isn't fixed. So if you mess it up and you get a result that you don't like, it's okay. You can just revise it and just check in. What was the assumption that I had running that caused me to take this action? Oh, of course. I was in a truth. I was looking at reality. I was seeing, okay, all right, I got it. Let's go again. All right, everybody, places, action. That's the beauty of this work. You get to have as many takes to get it right as you wish. But this is going to help you to reduce the takes that you need to take and just get it in one, because you are the star of this incredible show. So I hope this helps. Have a play with it. And remember, these are just offerings. These are not rules. You don't have to do any of this. This is just to help you if you want to see more of what it is that you want. Everything I offer here is just an offering. There's no rules with this. You find what works for you. You find what you resonate with and just leave the rest. So have a wonderful week. Enjoy having your false assumptions, which of course are not false. They're always true. We've just forgotten that, and we're now in the process of remembering. But the truth is, you are infinite health, you are infinite wealth, you are infinite love, you are infinite joy, you are infinite everything. And we are just in the process of remembering that. So have fun with that one and report your success back. As always, I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Do check out that oneness mindset, which I will link up here. And we'll be talking more about that in the videos to come. So I'll look forward to seeing you then. Okay, bye.